Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we are back with more ideas and opinions from Albert Einstein. Reading one piece today because after that we've got another long piece. But the piece we are reading today is called The Military Mentality, and it's from the American Scholar, New York, summer of 1947. It seems to me that the decisive point in the situation lies in the fact that the problem before us cannot be viewed as an isolated one. First of all, one may pose the following question: from now on, institutions from learning and research will more and more have to be supported by grants from the state, since for various reasons private sources will not suffice. Is it at all reasonable that the distribution of the funds raised for these purposes from the taxpayers should be entrusted in the military? To this question, every prudent person will certainly answer no, for it is evident that the difficult task of the most benevolent distribution should be placed in the hands of people. Those training and life's work give proof that they know something about science and scholarship. If reasonable people, nevertheless, favor military agencies for the distribution of a major part of the available funds, the reason for this lies in the fact that they subordinate cultural concerns to their general political outlook. We must then focus our attention on the practical political viewpoints, their origins, and their implications. In doing so, we shall soon recognize that the problem here under discussion is but one of many, and can be fairly estimated and properly adjudged when placed in a broader framework. The tendencies we have mentioned are something new for America. They arose when, under the influence of the two world wars and the consequent concentration of all forces on a military go, a predominantly military mentality developed, which, with an almost sudden victory, became even more accentuated. The characteristic feature of this mentality is that people place the importance of what Bertrand Russell so tellingly terms naked power far above other factors which affect the relations between peoples. The Germans, misled by Bismarck's successes in particular, underwent just such a transformation of their mentality, in consequence of which they were entirely ruined in less than in 100 years. I must frankly confess that the foreign policy of the United States since the termination of hostilities has reminded me sometimes irresistibly of the attitude of Germany under Kaiser Wilhelm II. And I know that, independent of me, this analogy has most painfully occurred to others as well. It is characteristic of the military mentality that non-human factors, atom bombs, strategic bases, weapons of all sorts, and possession of raw materials, etc., are held essential, while the human being, his desires and thoughts, in short, the psychological factors, are considered as unimportant and secondary. Herein lies a certain resemblance to Marxism, at least insofar as its theoretical side alone is kept in view. The individual is degraded to a mere instrument. He becomes human material. The normal ends of human aspiration vanish, and such a viewpoint. Instead, the military mentality raises naked power as they go, in itself one of the strangest delusions to which men can succumb. In our time, the military mentality is still more dangerous than formerly because the offensive weapons have become much more powerful than the defensive ones. Therefore, it leads, by necessity, to preventative war. The general insecurity that goes hand in hand with this results in the sacrifice of the children's civil rights to the supposed welfare of the state. Political witch hunting, controls of all sorts, e.g., control of teaching and research, of the press, and so forth, appear inevitable, and for this reason do not encounter that popular resistance which, were it not for the military mentality, would provide a protection. A reappraisal of all values gradually takes place insofar as everything that does not clearly serve the utopian ends is regarded and treated as inferior. I see no other way out of prevailing conditions than a far-seeing, honest, and courageous policy with the aim of establishing security on supranational foundations. Let us hope that men will be found sufficient in number and moral force to guide the nation on the path so long as a leading role is imposed on her by external circumstances. Then problems such as have been discussed here will cease to exist. So yes, Einstein warning of wars in which an offensive is used as a way to defend a country, because the power of the weapons that are used have become so powerful that you can't really defend against them other than by preventing them from being used. And we see this even today. Many countries that there is a fear of them wanting to attack the U.S., there's often a push to prevent them from having nuclear weapons. Iran, North Korea. You know, those are two countries that spring to mind right away. Because we don't want to have to deal with a nuclear power that isn't friendly to us. So yeah, And he talks about the military mentality, which unfortunately the U.S. is highly guilty of. Notice how much is implemented into the military. There's not just the military budget, there are black budgets that help fund military projects. And Einstein tried to warn of this. He says the idea should be, funding things for the betterment of mankind, not for military purposes. Right now, we're still in the midst of the longest war in American history, the Afghan War. What has it accomplished us? Accomplished us. Bin Laden turned out to be in Pakistan. Instead, this war has turned out to be the death of humans, American soldiers, Afghans, both civilian and military. So yeah. But yeah, that was the piece for ideas and opinions this week. Like I said, what was it called? I think it was actually called Military Mentality. The Military Mentality, yeah. So, but as always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, later.